tuned. The show is about to begin.
It's the Really Cast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Pumping through your broadcast. Grab a chair, fill your glass.
Hey, this is the Really Charlie Podcast and my marvelous guest, Laura Elizabeth. She is here and it's been a long time coming. I am so happy to get on this podcast to speak with her and talk to her about her book, All Is Now Lost. This is amazing story just in the brief just in the previews, and this book is about to come out September 2023. We are anticipating. I'm anticipating it. I cannot wait. It's just one of those books, and the problem with me, Charlie, is I love them. They're amazing. I'm a self-published author myself, so when I get or send them an invite, what happens is I have another book on my shelf. I this podcast has produced my own little book club, whether I like it or not, which of course I do like it. So, everyone, welcome on Fireside on YouTube. Later on, we will definitely have this on Spotify, and I'm going to actually have this show on WNB1 Radio, which I am a host DJ on. We will do that on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So this recording will air again. So without further ado, my friends, my new friend, Laura Elizabeth. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me today, Charlie. Thrilled to be here.
I am so happy to be here. This is Father's Day, and you know what? the show must still go on, and I got to do things that I like doing, and this is one of them. So I am so happy to have you here. Um, and I'm sorry about, we fireside, getting on it. It kind of is a little intimidating at first when you try to get on and trying to find and maneuver to get on the shows. But, it is a great, great platform. You know, right now we share this show, and it's 17,000 times. And as we continue to do it, um, well, it's as we're continue with the podcast, other people are going to share it, and I highly recommend anyone that's on viewing us now, please share this podcast. You will not be sorry. So, Laura, I'm going to read something, and
Okay.
this is amazing, you know, preview of your book, and I just like it. So I'm going to read it in my own voice, and
Okay.
we'll see let's see what happens. Hey,
Okay. I like it. Let's see
all
what
right,
happens.
all right. Now I hope I pronounce some of these words correctly, but you'll
That's
correct me.
okay. You'll make it your own.
That's right. Welcome to Mongin Island, the South Carolina Low County home of Carl Jepson and the cozy books and brew bookstore, where hot and cold tea are not the only things brewing. Book number one of the Island Mysteries series finds Carl Jepson arriving alone on Mongin Island, ready to start a new chapter of her life. Accessible by boat, Mongin Island has very few cars, no busy roads, no crowds, no traffic lights, no bridge, but boasts gloriously oak lined roads, beaches of powdery white sand, marshes with tall beach grasses, and empty storefronts that speak to an unanswered dream in Carr's heart, creating a gathering spot that happens to sell books. Recognizing that books and brews bear could use some island life, Carr decides to photograph the glorious island scenery, promising a truly unique sunrise photo. Carr's friend Barb takes her to Governor's Point, an abandoned property that was supposed to be an exclusive waterfront neighborhood. The now neglected property is overgrown and is now Barb's secret hideaway from enjoying some of the island's most spectacular water views. But to but what the two women find in their water, whoops, there we go. Sorry, my screen timed out. But what the two women find in the water that morning sets off a mystery of crisscrosses the island and the surfaces that many reasons, some of them deeply rooted in the island's once turbulent history, that families have come to 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 love this spot in the Atlantic for many generations. If you love cozy mysteries, you'll find this page turner riveting. Be prepared to be swept into Carr's journey as an amateur sleuth. Awesome. I love that. Did you did you write that yourself?
I did not write that myself. My publisher helped me uh, identify how to pull out the highlights of the story, but and some of that is based on my own experiences on this island, and so we spent a lot of time talking about why this island was so important to me, and I think that may have given it a personal feel. What ultimately the publisher came up with.
Awesome. That your book is due out September 2023. I cannot wait. And so we need to do pre-orders, and how do we
Yeah.
do that? Do we do
It's
that?
available on Amazon in
Or
Kindle, paperback, and hard copy. And so it's there. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's on Walmart. And people can even go to my website, which is theislandmysteries.com. And people can purchase the book directly from me as well. So I can ship it out to them. I have a little bit of island merchandise on my website that helps people understand a little bit about why I fell in love with this island. It's some artwork and photographs and things like that. So whole bunch of stuff is on there, including a Spotify list and a way to interact with me. If people would like to meet in person, from seeing me at events, all that kind of stuff is on the website.
Well, when we get, whether I'm down there or you come back to the Northeast, I will make sure that I definitely go find you. I'm gonna go find you. I have to do that.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Because this story is already captivating. Only because I'm an island person. I'm a water person, surf and sand and everything that appeals to me.
Yep.
And it's the only reason why I probably will never ever leave the city of New Bedford, Massachusetts, because we have so much coastline, and that
Yes.
if I need to just go, I can, and veg out. It's right there. So, anyways, the other thing before I go ahead and talk to you and ask you some questions.
Sure.
Every picture that I seen in your merchandise inspired a poem for me, and I'm a poet. So what I'm going to do is eventually get all those pictures, and I'm going to start writing about them.
Wow.
And just to appreciate you and taking those pictures, but those images just captivated me, and so I'm going to write about them, and then I'll send them to you, and just to say thank you for the inspiration.
That makes me so happy. Thank you for sharing that with me. It's an incredible place. It was just so transformational to go there. It was one of these things that it's funny how we ended up there. It was not intentional, and it was so impactful, which makes it even all the more ironic. It was not like something we set out to do to find this big moment in time. And it was such a great lesson that these things in your life can come along when you least expect them to. It's just, you could just be, if you're open to it, it can, an experience can be life-changing. And it was for me, and that was many years ago. And it took me all these years to kind of put the pieces together to figure out how I was going to incorporate my love for this place into something I could share with people in a tangible way. So that's what the Island Mystery series is all about. And All Is Now Lost is the first book in that series, and beginning work on book 2, which, it's fitting it in between everything. It is something I want to do. It's something that really brings me a lot of joy. So I'm happy to do it.
Awesome. I want to ask you, it says, let's see, you are a first-time author.
That's right.
So then you just mentioned about book 2. It's already being inspired. What inspired you to write All Is Now Lost?
So it's a funny story. I had moved from New England to the Mid-Atlantic, and not that long before my first trip to this island, we were supposed to go for spring break to the Grand Canyon. My husband, we have 2 children, kids were young, and we had 2 dogs at the time, and my neighbor was supposed to be watching our dogs. And at the last minute, she had a family emergency and wasn't able to do it. And so we Googled places that we could drive to that were pet friendly. And we didn't want some of the main touristy places that, like the Outer Banks or Myrtle Beach, or places that we could easily drive to from where we were living. So we came upon, on page like 2 or 3 of our Google search, this island called Daufuskie Island, which is off of Hilton Head. It's in between Hilton Head and South Carolina and Savannah, Georgia. And there was a resort there at the time. And we said, well, YOLO, we'll just go. And we were only like maybe a week out from when we were supposed to travel, maybe not even that much. And so we booked the trip, we loaded the kids, we loaded the dogs, we loaded all the stuff, and we drove down Interstate 95, and we were driving, and we almost did not make the ferry going to Daufuskie. The embarkation station was on Hilton Head. It just took forever. We were annoyed and hot and frantic, and it really wasn't a great start to the vacation. And you get there and you get on other transportation, you drive down this road, and did all that. And we pulled into the resort gates, and it was like, the only way I can describe it is like all the pieces of me kind of clicked into place at that point. I'd been married for some years, had these 2 kids, had moved, had homes, was working professionally. I was doing all the things, but this was the first time that I felt like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is who I'm supposed to be. It all made sense at that moment, which sounds so heavy, and it really was. It was just supposed to be a vacation. And we rented the resort on the property. There were little cottages, and we rented one of those, and it just was magical. It was such a magical time that we ended up buying a piece of property on while we were still there. On our way home and the car ride back, we finalized the deal, and we bought this piece of property, which was, obviously so off the wall. It was so impulsive. It was like, and we are not those people that could just go out and just buy property here, there, and, wherever we wanted. It was a sacrifice, and it was, a huge thing for us to do that. But that's how strongly we felt about this place, that I had this vision that I worked remotely at the time, and I was going to build this house, and we were going to have our children there during the summer, and I could work from anywhere. So the kids would have this kind of Huckleberry Finn childhood, free range, nice. Do all the things that they wouldn't be able to do where we were living, just explore and be kids, and, look at the turtles and the dolphins and build sand castles and all of those things that I wanted them to do. Shortly after, we started talking to builders, the resort went bankrupt. And so obviously all of the hopes and the dreams and that longing for home was all put on hold. And so we went many years like that. And then good news was there was a new buyer. The resort was sold. It was going to be great. Renovations started. And shortly after that buyer went bankrupt and ended up in federal prison for fraud. And clearly we were like, it felt like this insurmountable wall that was in front of us, that we wanted it so badly, but we couldn't be a part of it. And we would still vacation there, but we would rent other people's cottages, and we never built our own home and go back there, spent a lot of time there, but it wasn't what we had envisioned, which, life isn't always that way. And so during COVID, we had moved again, and I was living even closer to the island where I live now. And I just felt like I was being called to try and get something going for the island. So I don't work in hospitality or development or commercial real estate or any of those things, but I do have a career in business. And I just thought I'll act as a connector. I'll
Mm-hmm.
see if I can connect people who may be interested in investing in this property. And having no experience, I didn't realize the way oftentimes hotels have an operator, or they may be franchised, or I just really learned a lot on the fly. But that's what I did. I took it upon myself to act as the voice of this particular resort and try and connect people. And it was through that work that somebody kind of introduced me to the publisher, who challenged me to write a fictional story about the island. And with no strings attached, he wasn't saying, we'll take your work and we'll publish it. He's saying, if you feel called to write about your love for this place and why it was so impactful to you, then why don't you go ahead and do it, and we'll see what happens. And so I took the challenge and I wrote the story, and I was thrilled beyond belief when he agreed to publish it. And what was also thrilling is that the resort is under contract now, and there's hope for a future on the island. And it may not be necessarily what I had envisioned, but there are people who are interested in renovating and bringing back to life what was once there in a new way. So it seems like, we moved the needle a little bit, and that was good, for the island, but also in my own way, I can contribute to sharing what's special about this place and inspire, hopefully, people to find their special place and, start a passion project if you're called to do so. And don't listen to the haters and the doubters who will tell you, you don't have experience, or you don't know anybody, or it's really not your place, or, a lot of people will tell you no, but if you feel that the answer is really yes, listen to your inner voice. And so all of those things are in All Is Now Lost.
Yes. I think, wow. First of all, great story. I'm glad you continued on the path to, you guys are sitting there and you're talking about, well, let's go here. Let's take up some time and go here. This is appealing. And even though there was some obstructions, barriers, you still kept going that way. And truly what that tells me is that something's drawing you there, something's pulling you there for all the good reason, because there was some barriers there, So if you're still getting that draw, you're still wanting to go there, guess what? It's all going to result into what you actually wanted to, or something very, very similar. So continue on with that dream and that inspiration and aspirations for all of you, because, an island, there's nothing bad about an island. To me, and it's you do what you can, you live, you know what you're not supposed to do, and it's my family was parts of my family were born and raised on Nantucket Island, which you're very familiar with.
Yep.
So, and there's things that you just know that you can do and couldn't do, and Mother Nature was definitely something you didn't play with. So, but
it's true, and it's like when you are on this island, and Nantucket is similar in that way. Obviously there's no bridge. You're in the middle of the Atlantic. This is closer inland than Nantucket, but same idea. You choose a visit to this island is intentional. You don't happen upon it. You choose it. And it's not easy to go to the island. You're on a ferry schedule. You can't go whenever you want. On this particular island, there are no grocery stores. There's no movie theater. There's no, all of the trappings of a, tourist spot there. They don't exist there. So I, as a parent, have been so incredibly grateful for the time that I've spent there, with my family, because we had our undivided attention to our children, and investing that time and the energy into those family memories, whether it was a game night or a walk on the beach, or I would always say in the evening after we ate, we needed to go for an island jaunt, and we'd pile into the golf cart. We'd take the dogs and we'd pile into this golf cart. And even though we had been to the island, a gazillion times, we would always try and find something that was new, or a shared experience, a sunrise, a treasure on the beach. And so simple. It was the simplest things that, these are these memories of my children's childhood. It was so magical, just really to have them and this. And then now it is not this way, but years ago when we would first start going there, now there's, great Wi-Fi and internet connection. But at the time there really wasn't. And so they had some screen time, but it was really like our time. And to have all of us focused there was just such a building block for our family. And we would feel so restored going there that I can't imagine not going there, even though it's not easy to do it.
True.
It's a choice that you make because it's worth it,
I love it. The, let's see. Was the plot of any of the characters in All Is Now Lost inspired by your personal life? You've chosen to set your book at Daufusky. What is it?
It's Daufusky. Yeah.
Daufusky Island, which is a real island off the coast of South Carolina, which we've been talking about. But in your book, it's called Mongan Island. Why did you choose Daufusky Island for the location of your book, and why change the name?
People ask me that a lot. They say, like, why didn't you just call it Daufusky? And I'm like, well, a cozy mystery is a murder mystery. And why it's called a cozy is that it's not a police procedural. It's not forensics and all of that. It's the crime appears off screen, off the page. It just happens. It's not particularly, you're not into all the gory details. And the sleuth is an amateur, but I knew that I had a vision for, if I was going to be lucky enough to get a publishing contract, I would want it to have at least several versions of these mysteries. Like, I had in my mind all the different places and things that could happen. And so I also didn't want people to think of a visit to Daufusky means your life is in peril going there. So I wanted people to still be encouraged to travel there. And separating it with a new name meant that, my memories and my past, my present, and my future on Daufusky are those. And then, the stories are those. So it's kind of my way of compartmentalizing the two. But the topography, the community aspect, the way the palm trees, bend and greet you, the canopies of the oak with their Spanish moss hanging down, and that protective, like you're encased underneath those branches and those dirt roads. Those are all Daufusky, 100%. That is what it is. And the people that are there, the people who make Daufusky, the year round, the island residents are, small group of people who are really committed. They choose to live there, and they choose to live there with all of those, challenges that face them. They opt for it. They want to be there. And that is something unique, that even though it's hard, they choose it and they love it, and they show up for each other, and they show up for people who don't live there. People incredibly generous through the years that we've been there. I've had like golf carts break down and people stop by and say like, hop in the back, I'll bring you back. And just the humanity, just the humanity of the people who live there just make you feel so protective and just really welcomed. And I hope that readers of All Is Now Lost feel that too.
That's awesome. It yeah, just the imagery is it's just so elusive in my brain right now, and I didn't Google the island at all. I didn't try to see any images of it. I didn't want to do that right now. I just wanted to hear your story.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as a poet, that's what I wanted. I just want to hear. I want to feel. I want to get the essence of it all, and just getting it in your words. Um, and I also don't want to mess up those pictures that you have for merchandise. Those images. I'm already inspired by it, so those are the ones that I want to use. I don't want to use anything else right now because I know there's going to be many, many other beautiful scenes, beautiful inspirations for me to write about. So I definitely will do that. Um, let's see. I let's see. We'll go on for another. I want to ask a few more questions, only
Sure.
because you you telling this story. It should make. I'm telling you, it should make or create an interest for your book. You keep on telling this story exactly the way you are doing it. Don't change it. Don't listen to no. Don't listen to changes. Don't listen to publishers say, well, no, we want the organic Laura. The
I
organic,
appreciate that.
the organic Laura Elizabeth. Now, I mean, you always got to kind of feel your audience and what
Yeah.
appeals to them. I get that. Um, but for podcasting and interviews, just be you. Um, you know, I'm I'm just that guy. I'm just a good. I just love people. I love meeting people. I can make. I can create an icebreaker with most people, and if I'm not the icebreaker, guess what? I'll move on. I'll move on and go on to the next person.
Yeah.
So
I
the
do too. I just really enjoy meeting people and learning from them and like, hearing their stories. It's one of the just like fun things about, having this book is that it is an entree into talking to people and finding out what inspires them.
true.
And a lot of times people have found home but some people are still searching for it. And it's been really a very fascinating thing. I get a lot of energy from people, and I'm grateful for when people share their stories with me because it feels like that's the fastest way to connect with someone is from a shared experience. So I'm really grateful for that.
Okay. Awesome. I'm going to ask you two questions.
Okay.
All right. The Books and Brew bookstore is a
Mhm.
key location in your story. Tell us about the bookstore, but I also want to. What is the brew? Is the brew magic, or is the brew something you drink?
Good question. No, the brew is tea.
Okay.
And we had a big debate because my husband
And
actually.
I'm sorry I did read that. I'm sorry I did read
No,
that.
it's okay.
All right.
My husband actually roasts his own coffee beans, so he was
Nice.
really advocating for the brew being coffee.
Mhm.
But I love coffee, but I didn't want to travel down the road of like all these complex coffee orders because I never know what they all are. So I'm just like simple, straightforward coffee. So I thought I could probably handle writing about tea more than coffee orders. And
Mhm.
I wanted it to be the idea behind Books and Brew was loosely based on, when I go to the island, I always come up with like a new business I want to start there. I've started 0 businesses, but in my mind, I've started probably 100 businesses while I've been there. And one of them was a penny candy store that I wanted to have. So that was one. And so I imagined what I would do. I had the location picked. I didn't do anything about that, but I imagined it to look pretty much like what Books and Brew looks like in the story. And so it kind of already existed, but the difference was I wanted it to be, you know, obviously the books versus the penny candy. And then, you know, the merchandise was different, obviously, but the idea of having a community, a place where the community could come together was the same. And that is really was an important thing to me, you know, to write about, was that I wanted it to be a community meeting place. There's the demographics of the island. There are very wealthy people who have homes, second, third, fourth homes on this island. There are some very famous people who have homes on this island. And then there are people who essentially live in houses that may or may not have running water or electricity. All of these people live on this island harmoniously. So, sure, there's difference in the way they live, of course, but they live together as neighbors. And that is, you know, a nice model, you know, for people, is that you like who you like, you spend time with who you spend time with, and it doesn't matter what your house looks like or, you know, what you have to offer, you're offering yourself. And that is what I wanted to come across in Books and Brew. So there is a component of, yes, it is a retail store, and she opens this bookstore, and she uses the main character uses her business background to do so in a relatively quick way, you know, in a time frame. But there's also a room in the bookstore that's dedicated to book swaps. So if you had books that you read and you're done with, and you bring them, you donate them, and someone on the island can come and, you know, take one. And so everyone on the island can shop in the store. And this opening scene, it's like maybe 3 or 4 pages into the book, someone comes into the store and says, "Hey, tell me about what's happening here." She hadn't yet opened the store, and he says, "What are you doing in that back room?" And she says, "Well, it's going to be for this book swapping kind of idea." And that other character says, "That's a great idea. You know, it may not make you much money, but it will definitely make you rich." And, you know, the idea is that it doesn't matter, you know, if you're taking out your credit card and you're buying all this merchandise, it's about you showing up and you being part of, you know, this space that is for the entire community. It's just not for people who have disposable income to, you know, fuel their interest in reading. So I loved Books and Brew, and Books and Brew will be a fixture in all the stories, because this is like the main hangout for the core group of characters. There's 2 of them work there, and one is the friend, you know, the sidekick kind of friend, and so she hangs out there with her friends. And there's even a bookstore dog who is also, and that happens to be my grand dog, so Buddy. So he even gets some airplay as well. So
I love it. You can't go wrong with a little dog. You can't go wrong with a little dog anyway. And, I love it. Who's your favorite character of the book, and what makes them special?
That's a hard one, because I love them. I love them all. I don't love the villains so much, so that one is an easy no. But the core group, I love them dearly. It's been one of the best part about writing the story is bringing these people to life and imagining them and, bringing life to them, understanding what they look like and how they'd speak to each other, how they'd speak to the group, like how they'd solve problems. I love all of that. It's just been tremendous, tremendous fun. There's a little boy in the story that is loosely based on a former neighbor of mine. And this little boy came into our life when we had moved from New England to the Mid-Atlantic. And his story is not the same as this little boy's, but he did need to spend a lot of time with our family. And he was a frequent visitor. He was the same age as my son, and they were good buddies. And he gave me a little bit of a purpose that I didn't have at that point in my life. He gave me roots. And so that character that's in the book gives Car, the sleuth, the protagonist, a little bit of a purpose too. It softens her. She's struggling because she's a recent widow and she's a little lost, trying to figure out how she's going to begin her life again. And he allows her to be soft and vulnerable, and he reminds her of how she even got the idea of opening a bookstore in the first place. And so I think he's probably, even though he's not a main character, he's definitely one of my favorites, because I think back to those days in our, decade or so ago, maybe even more than that, where this little boy was in our life. And I've always had some gratitude for that, because he kind of helped me navigate some hard times where I had to keep showing up. So I think maybe he's my all-time favorite, but I really do love them all.
Awesome. Yeah, I already love them. So I cannot wait. Let's see, I want to add something. Let's talk about that title. All right. Title of your book. Did it come easy? Come hard? But where did it come from?
It is very funny. People have asked me that, and some people cautioned against it because they said it's so heavy. It's a heavy title, and I guess it is, although I didn't really see it that way. There are two people who say that in the book. And the first time I wrote it as a quote, I thought, that's it. That's the title. That's what it's going to be. And so there are people who say it. It is a quote in the story. But also it's a little bit of the protagonist's life, the one that she knew before coming to the island full time, is lost. A lot of times after a death, she lost her husband suddenly. And there's a part in the story where she speaks how people are trying to encourage her to almost get over it, and get back to the way you were. And she originally thought she'd moved to the island and it would put her back together again, being in this place that she already loved. But she realizes that that person doesn't exist anymore. The person that shared those decades of her life with this other person, her husband, they grew up together. They married young, they had their family, and that person doesn't exist anymore. So that is lost, and she has to begin again, and still with, all the things that, she's obviously still a mother. She is a business, all her life experiences she brings with her, but that part of her life is lost. So that's lost. There are people in the book who say it's lost. A life is lost. So there's a lot of things that are lost. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that are found. And there are people who find home. There's people who find, a new version of themselves. There's people who find new relationships. So while things were lost, things are also gained. So,
I get it. I just wanted to know. And stay deep. I mean, it's stay deep as you can. I always say it's not a negative. It's a draw. Everything we do in society is something deep. Whether it's being on a podcast or watching a talk show or a movie, everything's based on deep, deep emotions, thoughts, and so you stay there. You stay exactly where you're at, because that's the way I am. I mean, I go by a poetic pulse. And when you think of that, a pulse is from deep inside of someone, and that's where I get my poetry from. Is from deep inside, whether it's good, bad, or lovely, and it just kind of just brings it out.
mhm.
And so that's me. I like deep. So you stay right there, and you know, sometimes even the simplest things could be deep. And I just like that. That's me. That's my
Yeah,
wheelhouse. That's my wheelhouse.
I agree with you. It's that's kind of the way I live my life. I'm not living on the surface. Probably sometimes might be a lot easier, but like a lot of people, I've had my shares of experiences that haven't all been terrific and wonderful, and life was difficult very early on for me, and so I don't. I feel things deeply. I see things deeply, and I think about things deeply. And so I don't live on the surface, and sometimes that's heavy for people. But it's. I think that's why when I went to this island and I felt it so strongly, it was like this is where I was supposed to be. This is how it was supposed to be. This is what I've been looking for. So, um, and that's what I think when you read the book, you feel that is that she, the protagonist, is fully committed to this island and fully committed to the people on the island. And that's the way I kind of live my life. I'm either all in or I'm not in. So like if I'm in, I'm in. So and that's, I think what people will pick up in the story is that, I'm in.
True, true, true. I changed the view only, but I wanted to look at you face to face when we're having this conversation, because it just it's a better conversation for me to have a view of you back and forth, and but that face to face image brings out a better podcast, and, and I'm able to produce better questions. You know, being an interviewer for many many years, my career, you're taught and you learn to look at people, read them,
Sure.
see things that they're doing, their body language, and so that's why I wanted to kind of do that. The let me just go back. I just all our viewers out there on Fireside, thank you for joining us. The author is Laura Elizabeth, and I am so happy to have her here. Title of her book is All Is Not Lost. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on her website, which is Island Mysteries, right?
Yeah. The Island
the
Mysteries.
the Island Mysteries, which is
Right.
very very important. The Island Mysteries. You can go on that website. The book will be coming out September 2023, but please, you can pre-order it. Uh, and thank you for joining us on YouTube. Also, you're out there. I really appreciate you. Please like and subscribe to the Really Charlie YouTube channel. And also, we have a page on Facebook, which is Really Charlie Podcast. Is a page. It's also a group where I will be sharing quite a bit of material from Laura, and also, you know it's the thing to do, only because this story is definitely, you mentioned about the Huck Finn. You want your children to have that experience, that Huck Finn experience, and um, that's something that George Weinstein had bring up with this hard scrabble road, and just basically just getting deep and down and just telling the story from you know conversations with his father-in-law, and I just like those stories, and it's only going to draw me to book two before even book two is out, because I know where you're going to lead with things, and I like that. So uh, let's see. Are you part of the Atlanta's Writers Club?
I am.
Okay, all right. Well, I plan on getting my butt down there for the conference.
Oh, that'd be great.
I started I started a new job, so I have to feel that out and you know see what's what and make sure that I can make myself available to go down there to meet all my friends.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a great group of people.
yeah, that would be an awesome, priceless picture with me and everyone that's been on the Really Charlie podcast. So that would be one of my the best opportunity for me to see everyone. So I can't wait to do that. Even if I'm down there just for the conference and I end up leaving, that's fine too.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I want to make sure that I meet every one of you. So
Yeah, they're really a great group of people, really supportive, just a really great network, especially for people. Yeah, for me, it was where I'm new to this, just to have people to bounce ideas off of and get good feedback, like honest feedback and supportive. Just really, really cool, interesting people that are involved in it, and people who are generous with their time and their thoughts. It's just really a great group of people.
exactly, I second that all the way. The Laura, what else could you share with us? You probably have about 9 minutes, and what do you want to share with us about your book and you? Period. Anything you wish. Um, don't mind the sirens here. I am only blocks away from the hospital,
Oh, okay.
which
Yeah, we have the helicopters flying overhead because we're close to the hospitals in Atlanta. So, but I don't know if you can hear them or not, but we get the Lifestar kind of helicopters flying.
mhm.
Um, I just want to let people know about, as you mentioned, the website, theislandmysteries.com. There's a section there that has all my events. And I have just been thrilled to have so many different places that I'm going to and places that I've been invited to, and ways that I'll be able to interact with readers and writers and people who are just interested in learning more about the process of writing and publishing. It's just been incredible. Last weekend, I was in Boston, and I met some people who were able to hear excerpts from the book. I read, I signed books, and that was really exciting. It's the first time I had been back in Boston in a very long time, so I was appreciative of that opportunity. But do live in the Atlanta area. I have some events that are around Atlanta, and in August, I've been invited to Kaya Vineyards, which is in Dahlonega, Georgia,
Mm,
which is North Georgia, and I'm doing an event there. And then later that same day, I'm doing an event at the Dahlonega Resort. And they are just an incredible group of people, very hospitable, fabulous wine. Spent a weekend there in March and really learned about the process of making wine. But really what was the most fun was meeting the people who operate Kaya and care for the grapes and the process and their guests, which was just an incredible experience. So going back there in August and some other events in the Atlanta area. And then in September, I have quite a few events in South Carolina and on the island, on Daufuskie Island, and then in the Hilton Head area. And then I'm back in the Bluffton, South Carolina area at the end of September, and just back and forth and all around. And so I'm very interested in traveling either virtually for book clubs, which I've been invited to, which is a lot of fun, talking to people who have read the book and hearing what they've offered or who they thought may have been, the villain and how they thought the story was going to come together. And we've had a lot of laughs. I'm very interested in doing that or appearing in person. And I just really am grateful for all the opportunities that I've had and the ones that have been extended to me and what may come. I'm just really excited about it. It really is very humbling to sit in front of somebody who said, I read your book and here's like how it's impacted me. Mm-hmm. I never thought that I would be in that situation to be on the receiving end. I've admired authors all my life. I've always been a reader. And now to be in this position where people are saying that to me, it's so humbling and just still surprising. And it makes me it just fills me up so much. So I'm just grateful for those opportunities. And so I just want to invite people to come and join me or reach out to me or share feedback, also on Goodreads. So, once people have read the book, if they want to comment on there or, connect that way, that's another way that we can connect. So just hoping to really meet some readers and hear what they have to say.
Awesome. I can't wait. And I will actually, read your book, critique it, put a review on Amazon, which is very important.
Yes, very helpful to do.
Yes, and so I'm going to keep supporting you as much as I can, and feel free to come on board. You want to do Fireside again, let me know, and we can do it again. Any kind of podcast that you eventually want. If you end up jumping on Facebook and creating a profile, we can do it there. But wherever you want. YouTube is another place for you.
I appreciate that.
Yep, it's and you may want to just do it with a guest, someone else. You and someone else talk about something. Feel free. It might be a subject that you want to talk about. Just send me an email or call me, whatever. You have my number now, so you can call me at any point, anytime, and I would gladly, put you on there. No questions asked.
Well, I appreciate that. And, maybe it would be fun to, reconvene in September when the book is launched and could even share some excerpts from the book and some Great of my idea. Passages. I think that'd be fun. If you'd like to do that, I'd love to do that and talk about some of the characters and get to know them a little bit. There's, something in the book for everyone. There are the dog lovers, the book lovers. There's even pie in the story, which is like my downfall. So there's a little bit of pie in there. There's a lady who's lived on the island for many years, all her life, and her family generationally she's a descendant of the Gullahs, and she is. She's been generationally on the island, and she is the island baker. And so we get to be introduced to Miss Lucy and her fabulous pies. And so there's something in the story for everyone, really. Children, there's that relatable factor of investing in our next generation of island residents and helping them become the best version of themselves. And then, of course, building those friendships and relying on each other. Like when sometimes that's all you have are the people who surround you. So, so there's a lot in there, and I hope that people take a chance, read All Is Now Lost, and enjoy it tremendously as I have enjoyed bringing it to life.
Awesome. I really appreciate you being a part of my day today, being a part of this podcast. It's definitely, this was great. This was a great podcast. This is something I will listen to again, and can't wait for that book. I really, really can't. Every now and then I'll put a different thing, a reel on social media about your book and different pieces that I see or different things that you're doing, just to get it out there. So
Thank you.
You got a friend until you say, stay away from me.
Well, that's not going to happen. So,
right.
Oh,
Thank you.
Love it.
Tell your husband Happy Father's Day, and I will keep in touch with you.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Enjoyed it.
All right.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you. I'm going to end this podcast with my favorite song, and also give a 5 stars to Laura Elizabeth. Definitely, she's just got one book, but there's one in the wake. There's one coming. It's on the surf. It's coming in, and it's going to hit you hard like a hurricane. Well, not a hurricane. Let me say like a beam of sunlight, like a sunrise,
Ooh, I love it. That's a good imagery.
Yeah. Book 2 is coming, and I can't wait. So, all right, everyone. Thank you for joining me on Fireside. Continue to listen every chance you get. Also, I appreciate you listening to the podcast on replay and YouTube, Spotify, and also WNB1 Radio. If you want to hear me on the radio, just tune in or add WNB1 Radio to your devices. That's Apple, Android, and you can hear me Tuesday nights playing R&B music, as I say, serving you R&B music on the rocks. Chilled music with a chilled host, where you get to listen to the music you love the most on WNB1 Radio. Love you. This is Charlie Perry and the Really Charlie Podcast. Laura, you're the best. You keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
God bless.
It's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Pumping through your broadcast. Grab a chair, fill your glass. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Pumping through your broadcast. Grab a chair, fill your glass.